11 years after Scream 4, the world needed a fifth. The movie world, more specifically. We were getting an abundant amount of requels, sequels that heavily reflect on the original movie, and many of these movies had the same title as the first one, but were continuing storylines rather than remakes. I still don't know anyone who likes this method of naming sequels. And these are the type of movies that the characters in Scream 5 have grown up with. And with Scream 5, anticipation was high due to the fact that hopes of another Scream after Part 4 was made was kind of just dwindling and as low as ever. I mean, Scream 4 was kind of unimpressive with its critics, with the audience. The box office was barely pretty much even. Maybe it made a little bit more. So all that coupled with the fact that Wes Craven passed away 4 years afterwards, just I think people kind of forgot that there could be any more Scream sequels. But Scream 5 could have put the nail in the coffin of the series, since it's coming out so long after the last movie. But it not only succeeded critically, but at the box office as well. And that's all with having the lowest budget of the entire series. The twist in the beginning is that our victim, Tara, survives the ghost-faced attack. We also get the killer asking Stab movie trivia, which is the first clue that the killer is a Stab superfan. The beginning of the film handles introducing new characters very well. No longer will the main trio from the first 4 films be headlining the series. Having Samantha be tied to the franchise by being the daughter of Billy Loomis does well to allow the audience to accept her as the new lead.
Mom never forgave me. And she made me promise never to tell you because you were so young. And
the rules this time are actually rules set by the first 4 Screams, rather than horror in general. This time, it's Dewey who is stating the rules of the internal requel that's going on here. It makes sense since he has worked on or been involved in all 4 murder sprees prior to Scream 5. The rules this time are: never trust your love interest, the killer always has something to do with the past, and the first victim has a circle of friends that the killer is a part of. It's revealed that the twins, Mindy and Chad's uncle, is Randy, and Mindy has inherited his love for horror movies. She goes on to explain what a requel is and how it could affect everyone, pointing to Samantha as being the top suspect. All the turmoil with Samantha comes back, widening the effects that abandoning her sister in town has on her. Dewey and Gail's relationship, it's assumed, went awry probably soon after Scream 4. Gail got a taste of the limelight and now is a host on a morning show. Dewey's life path took him into forced retirement and depression.
When did you care about my feelings?
Hey.
Especially not in the last couple of years.
All right, listen, let's not pretend I'm the one who ended things.
No one's pretending, Gail. I remember what happened.
Dewey has a moment where he contemplates sticking around a crime scene and going over to Gail, but decides, correctly at that instant, to go with Samantha to the hospital. It's like the only thing that could lift him up was being with Gail, and he turned towards his eventual fate of death, which is actually very brutally done in the film, stopping any hopes that he'll survive to live on. Dewey's death naturally brings Sidney back to Woodsboro just in time for the second half showdown. In true requel style, the third act is set at Stu's old home during another party. The result is perhaps the best final act of the series since the first. Samantha's visions of Billy pays off in a fun way. The audience, in a way, roots for Billy to help Samantha find her inner strength to be able to combat Ghostface and be the victor of the day. In the end, we get a plethora of final women, but luckily one male survives, with Chad somehow not bleeding out by the time the cops have arrived. People can choose to complain about things that others just accept. One is that they don't feel that the Ghostface is Amber in the scene where Dewey dies. There's a few different ways you can explain and just flesh out how that could make sense. Overall, it does not bother me, and it just seems too inconsequential for it to make me feel any negativity towards the movie because of it. You also have hate regarding the motive.
They just laugh at us. And why? Because we love something? We're just a fucking joke to them? How can fandom be toxic?
A couple of crazed fans makes sense. It's as simple as that. I never hear anyone explain why they didn't like the motive, and therefore I just cannot offer any rebuttals as to why I like it other than it makes perfect sense for how people are in the real world. So Scream 5 came out, and immediately one of my biggest positives was that the trope of calling itself the same thing after the first movie was actually not a trope in this movie. It was kind of like a meta joke on the situation, pointing out that these movies were calling themselves after the first movie of the series, but they were not remakes, and they were just kind of confusing people. And I thought that was a smart thing that this movie did, because it knows it's pointing at everyone in the audience and saying, we know what you like in movies, and we got you with this title, it being called Just Scream. So I think it worked in this one. On a side note, having the title of the movie be the same as the first could direct younger people back to the original, which they may not even know about in the first place. So it's kind of an okay thing. And I don't know if it points out to how good it is or how bad other 2022 movies were, but Scream 5 ended up in my top 10 of the year. And I saw it twice in the movie theater and twice since. The pacing is incredible, and so far is highly rewatchable. I would love to have more scenes with the characters, but never really felt that the characters were actually underwritten or anything. And mostly, I like how efficient the movie is with the plot and setup of scenes. If you don't pay much attention, you can miss things and just little pieces of dialogue or things here and there throughout the movie. And if you're really not paying attention to that, you could think that there's issues with the movie or things that don't make sense. For instance, the hospital wing being closed off in private. A lot of people obviously do not hear that or put things together, and they think it's so stupid of the movie. But the movie is very, very, very efficient. It goes through and it does not hang on or anything like that with little things that other movies beat you over the head about. Who knows exactly how long the Scream series will go on, or if and when a remake would eventually ever happen. But the Scream 5's rather very, very good success at the box office last year, and Scream 6 coming out just a year later, I would say that it's back on strong legs, and any dips in the series that 3 or 4 may have perceivably had on anything, I think the series is really strong right now, and you know they can't really stop unless they just make an artful decision and say we don't want to overdo it. But definitely I really liked Scream 5. I would say it's probably one of the best of the series. I really, really enjoyed it top to bottom. And definitely in the comments, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought about the negatives people have, like the motives being bad or just anything like that. But otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.